You are listening to the Estheticians Earning More podcast with Brittany Hageman, episode number 111. Welcome to the Estheticians Earning More podcast. On this podcast, we talk about how to love your esthetician business without the hustle, exhaustion, or overwhelm as it booms into a successful business. I teach simple ways how to approach your business that gives you your life back while still growing a profitable business. I grew BLH Beauty in San Diego to a 6-figure business, and I learned a lot along the way, which I'm excited to share with you here. So let's get started. Hello, welcome back. It has been harder than I thought it would be to get these podcasts recorded, so I hope between now and when I have reliable childcare, I will be able to get these out to you weekly. That is my goal of all the goals, but we'll see how consistent I'll be able to do that. I'm so excited to be back today to talk to you about business stuff. It has been a minute since last week was a personal episode, but today I want to talk about something that I think so many people experience, especially if you identify as a people pleaser. If you have a hard time telling people no, then this episode is for you. Okay, so I recently listened to an episode of We Can Do Hard Things. I'm going to link it in the show notes. And I don't know the episode off the top of my head, but I will link it so you can just click on it and go to listen to it. It's talking about guilt, which I think is a big motivator, influencer of why we have a hard time saying no to our clients. We feel guilty, right? And that guilt is such an uncomfortable feeling to feel. Guilt is very similar to shame, and shame, I think, is one of the most uncomfortable feelings a human can feel. So guilt, we will do a lot to avoid feeling shame, feeling guilt. Those are feelings we do not like to have. And telling someone no to something that we know they want or don't want or whatever, it can instantly, that guilt comes up. So you're like, yeah, I'd rather feel frustrated if the person didn't show up than feel guilty that they're mad at me or they think I made the wrong decision or whatever, right? So when you kind of make these decisions in our mind, and a lot of times they're not even conscious decisions, it's like, this happens. Client is telling me last minute they're not coming to an appointment. And you had told yourself you were going to charge them, clients, especially if it's someone who's been doing it more than once, you're going to charge them the next time they do it. And they do it. And you're like, okay, I can either charge them and then feel guilt because they may be mad at me, or they may write a review about me, or whatever fear I have, or they may leave and never come back. And I feel so guilty because I caused that. Or I'm not going to charge them and just be mad and frustrated, but I'll get over it and it's going to be fine because they're a good client. They've been with me for a while, or since I started working as an esthetician, or they moved with me from my first location or my first job, and whatever, it's fine, right? So we kind of make these decisions in our head. And I'm also really want to make sure you hear me when I'm not saying I've definitely made exceptions for people in the past. Because I either totally believed them, that it was a crazy thing happened why they didn't show up for their appointment, or I really just wanted them to kind of go away. So the easiest decision to make is the decision to make them go away. So I was like, that's fine. I won't charge them. I'll do the service and then they can't come back, But I want to talk to you about something that they talked about on this podcast. It actually is a concept from Dr. Becky. She's a therapist, and she actually does a lot of work in parenting and family systems, which I independently from the We Can Do Hard Things podcast has found Dr. Becky. I have her book. I'm actually in her membership. I have listened to a lot of her podcasts. I follow her on Instagram. I really like her parenting style, parenting approach, because a lot of it has to do with this concept of reparenting yourself. That's a side note, but it's really great. But anyways, they talk about this concept that Dr. Becky shares, and I actually hadn't heard this before. And so it was I was cleaning or whatever and listening to podcasts, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, what? And it was the most profound thing. It was so profound that I actually sent an episode to my husband to listen to because it was like, it was like gold. So I'm going to tell you what the concept is about guilt and what guilt is and what guilt isn't. So guilt is when you make a decision or an action, you take an action, behavior, whatever, that's against your values. So like if you believe stealing is wrong and you go into a store and you steal a shirt and then the rest of the day you feel guilty, is because you believe stealing is wrong. So that guilt is against a value you have. And this can be an interpersonal relationship. This can be a business relationship. So for in your business, if someone paid you for a service, like they overpaid you, like the system, like you had them send an invoice or whatever, and you realized it was like $100 overpaid, and you kept the money, you didn't tell them, and you felt guilty. That's because you believe charging someone for something they didn't get, they paying for something they didn't get is wrong, and so you feel guilty about that. Like I would feel guilty. I wouldn't do that, but like that would be something that would make me feel guilty if I ever decided to be unethical and do that, right? It's like against my own personal ethics. And we all have our own personal ethics. I'm not saying like, whatever, but do you understand that concept? Like it's something that you personally do not agree with. Like if I walked out of the store with something I didn't pay for, I'd bring it back. And even if they were like, oh, it's fine, just keep it. It's like not worth it. It doesn't matter because I would feel guilty keeping it. Even if it was like a $2 thing, I'd feel guilty. Like I can't keep this. I didn't pay for it. I would feel guilty. And that's because it's against my morals. A lot of the times, okay, so that's that. That's the definition of guilt. A lot of times we use guilt in the wrong terms, which is we feel guilty when we have not lived up to someone else's expectations. But it's not actually guilt. That's just feeling uncomfortable. And it's really amazing to me that this distinction has been so powerful for me, especially in parenting, because it comes a lot to do with parenting. So like an example that they used is like, you want to go out and have dinner with your friends and your child is crying and you instantly say, I feel guilty that they're crying and I'm leaving. But really what's happening is your child has an expectation that they want you to be home all the time with them. And you're not fulfilling that expectation. You're like, no, today I'm going to go out, but you don't think it's wrong to go out to dinner with your friends once in a while and leave your child with your partner or whatever, right? So you're feeling uncomfortable that your child is upset, or you're feeling uncomfortable that your client is upset because you charged them for not showing up to their appointment or canceling late, or you are uncomfortable that they asked you to come in on a Sunday and you don't work Sundays, and so you told them no. So you are uncomfortable with their feelings is really the reality, right? Like you are uncomfortable with their feelings because you believe their feelings are going to create an action that's going to negatively affect you. And that sometimes does happen, right? Sometimes does happen. But the feeling of that they have is what tends to be the thing that we're most afraid of. And we also carry that weight with us. But I'm going to tell you something, and this is something that I work with my clients, and especially my one-to-one clients. You don't have to carry their feelings. You really don't. And you can actually have a lot of empathy for their feelings and hold what I call space. It's a concept that I didn't create, but you can hold space, which means you can allow their feelings and still tell them no with so much love. So an example, I think I put this in a post recently. A client really wants to come in evenings and you work one night a week and you don't work any more evenings because you did before and you don't like doing it anymore and you're busy enough during the day and you just don't want to work evenings anymore. That's it. You just don't want to. There doesn't have to be any reason beyond that, right? I just want to give you permission. You can just decide. So clients like, I just am really frustrated because I can't get in because your evenings are booked and there's no other time I can get in. And that's real. I'm not even going to say they're being manipulative or anything like that. That's real. Like, they're frustrated. They're super frustrated. And you can say, like, I totally get that. You can have empathy for their frustration and the place they're in. Just like maybe you're frustrated, you can't get in to see a doctor, or you wanted to go to the post office and it was closed and you were done with work. I mean, we've all had those moments where we want something to be open and it's not, and it's frustrating, right? You can relate to that, right? It's like, that is frustrating. I get that. And I know you can make a decision to take away their frustration, but then what it does is it creates more frustration and resentment with you. Unless it really doesn't. If it really doesn't, then keep doing what you're doing. But if it's something that you don't want to do anymore, I'm going to emphasize this. It's something that not that I'm telling you shouldn't do anymore, or so-and-so is telling you. It's something you don't want to do anymore. You don't want to give people passes for not showing up for their appointments. You don't want to work outside of your hours. You don't want to do something. It's a no for you. You don't want to sell someone just a cleanser, right? Whatever it is. You can totally get it. Like, yeah, I know. I get it. It sucks. I'm sorry. I wish I liked working nights. I wish working nights was sustainable for my family, but it's just not. I just don't. I don't like working nights. So I just don't do it anymore. I totally get that's frustrating. And I love having you as a client. I really do. And I totally understand if it doesn't work for you anymore. So for instance, once my child starts full-time, or not full-time, just starts childcare in the fall, I will be taking one-on-one clients again. And I'm on the East Coast now. So I recognize when I'm available for people, they may still be sleeping, right? If you're in California or like Hawaii, you're not going to be awake when I'm taking clients. And I totally get that. And that's super hard. It sucks. Like, it totally sucks, right? As I used to go on West Coast time is a much more accessible time for more people. But I also, that's when I'm available, right? Like, I can't work in the afternoons. I don't have childcare in the afternoons. I'm actually hearing my daughter screaming right now. Okay, I don't know where I was. Whew, mom life. Anyways, so my point is, once you get comfortable or learn to tolerate, because sometimes I've been doing this work for a few years now, professionally and personally, and it definitely still stings sometimes. It's definitely still hard. So you learn to process it, right? You learn to feel it, to understand what's happening in your brain, understand what's happening, why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Once you do that time and time again, and you get better at it, it's not so hard to say no. It doesn't create the same amount of stress. And I honestly, like, I've been working now with estheticians for about 2 years, and it honestly can be one of the hardest parts of owning a business is this side of it. The people having expectations that, you should, whatever it is, right? That you should be open whenever they're available, that you should not charge whatever you want to charge. You should just always waive your or not even have a cancellation fee, right? Like, people have different expectations. And I know that that's just people. It has nothing to do with you. And if you can hear anything else that I say today, is like, even though sometimes people may get really mad because you tell them, like, listen, I'm so sorry, but I have to charge you. I'm so sorry. I'm just not open then. They may get mad and blame it on you. Like, you're inconsiderate or whatever, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, if someone does that, they are not a client you want to work with. I promise you. I don't want a client that talks that way to me, that thinks that of me, right? And don't get me wrong, I've had to tell clients I deeply love no. It's a little awkward. It's a little uncomfortable. I feel bad. They maybe are a little frustrated, right? But it's okay. It's totally okay. Like, an example, and it's a two-way street, right? So, like, I have a client who moved overseas and wanted me to basically package a package that I could package to her sister, and then her sister could ship it to her overseas buying products. This is an acne client. So I was like, okay, I will give you a quote. It was not an easy task for me because a lot of my products, I still don't know where they are post move, like finding them all, putting together the box, weighing it, getting it, like whatever, right? And ultimately she decided she wasn't going to do it because it was going to be really expensive for her to like pay all the extra shipping and all those things. But she has a right to say that, right? Like she has a right to be like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sorry. This doesn't work for me. I actually wasn't frustrated at all because it was a lot of money and it was going to be like close to $1,000. And like, it's a lot of money to spend on skincare. And there's a chance it got lost and there's lots of risk for her. So I totally got it. But I really welcome, like I foster, and it doesn't always work, right? Some of my clients, it doesn't work. But my goal is to foster a sense of acceptance of whatever they decide. So if they decide that they actually aren't going to place the order they said they were going to place, or they aren't going to keep coming, or they aren't going to do whatever, I just like I tell them no, I respect their ability to tell me no, what's works for them and what doesn't work for them. Because when we both want it, right? We both agree this is what we want, this is the terms of our relationship, this is how we're going to work together. It works so well. When I'm constantly trying to convince someone or figure out a way not to upset someone, it's a complete and total disaster. That is it for today. Thank you so much for coming back today. I am going to have opportunity to work with me one-on-one if this is something that you are struggling with. It's coming soon. It's totally different than anything I've done before, kind of restructuring my one-to-one program. So stay tuned for that. You have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now, hopefully.